Sorry, I was busy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, it's 10 a.m. Time for worship. Woo! Maybe later we'll take turns to share like what we did with those 15 minutes, right? Well, Happy New Year, and whoever you are and wherever you've come from this morning, we welcome you here to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and welcome to those of you joining us online. We're glad you could join us as well. This is a place where we honor your choices and your personal spiritual journey. So you are welcome here. And a special welcome if you're joining us for the very first time or maybe one of the first times. I hope you know that there is much welcome for you here, and we look forward to getting to know you. So there are name tags available, so just a reminder to please do wear a name tag, those of you that have been around for a while. It's great for new folks to get to know you by seeing your name. And if you are somebody that is new, you can also get a name tag in the back so we can get to know you. As Unitarian Universalists, we will not ask you to recite a creed when you come in here. We're not going to ask you to agree with everything that you hear from this pulpit in the hallways. In fact, we actually welcome your thoughts. And this morning especially, I want to remind you that we will have service reflection time so that you can take time to reflect for yourself on your opinions about the topic of the day and share that with others and have a time to hear from them as well. We love to engage with each other in conversation, and we only ask that you commit to holding each other in a space of mutual care and support, honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And that's what we like to do here. This month's theme is all about choices. So today's service is going to include a conversation about reproductive justice, and just a reminder that this might not be suitable for everybody on all ages. After the story, we'll make this announcement again, but children and youth that would like to leave the service are welcome to go, and our child care providers are going to have them upstairs, and there'll be games and things that we normally don't have on a Sunday morning during that time, so you're welcome to join them there. It's my personal hope that you will find this next hour a time where you can come in from the hustle of your life, wake up, and take a nap if you're in the back row. We hope, though, that you can take a breath and take this time really to be yourself here. So I'm going to invite you to take that breath right now if you haven't. Even at 10 a.m., maybe you hustled to get here. So take a breath and just connect in with yourself. You've arrived here, whether it's in person or online. So give yourself this time to relax and renew. And I also hope that you will give yourself this time to sing. How many times do you get to sing except in your car and your shower? Here we are in public. So I'm going to invite you to rise in body or spirit. Our opening hymn is number 360. It's in the gray hymnal. It's called Here We Have Gathered. Let us gather.
May all who seek here find a
Good morning and welcome to Emerson. My name is Leslie McLean, and I'm a member of the worship team and the Emerson Choir. I extend a welcome to each of you today and am so glad you are here. Each Sunday, we pause to light our chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism and our commitment to be a beacon of love in the world. May its light be a shining reminder that in this community, you will find a warm and open welcome to all that you are. We light this candle as a reminder that there is no greater power in the world than love. Through this community, we can become a blessing to one another. Our love is magnified and our lives are changed. We welcome you into the light of this community. Now, in the spirit of love and the beloved community, let's greet and welcome each other to this new day as we share our congregational affirmation. We need not think alike to love alike. Those in the sanctuary, feel free to move around to offer a greeting to others. For those online, please use the chat to introduce yourself or unmute to say hello. Leslie.
A lot more greeting on when we get here at 10 o'clock. Gives everybody a little more chance to wake up. Well, I'm Jeffrey Jacoby, and I have a story for all ages. So if anybody would like to come up and hear a story, now is the time to come and join me. You always know if I show up with a basket, I've got a story to tell. What is it about baskets and storytellers? We always have a basket. So many stories include a basket. Hey guys, how's it going? All right, good to see you guys this morning. Well, today's story is about an apple farmer. And he had this huge apple farm, and every morning... Hello? Oh, that's better, yes. Every morning he would say to his dog, all right, let's go out into the apple orchard and see if there's any apples that are ripe for us to pick. So he'd get his basket and go out into the orchard, and he gets to this first tree, and he says, oh, wow, look, there's ripe red apples in this tree. Let's get them. So he climbs up and picks all these apples, and then, right as he's finishing up with the apple basket, from out of the bushes right nearby, this little man pops out. And he says, and he goes, oh my great Granny Smith, who are you? And the little man says, I am Take, and if you listen to me, your life will be great. And the farmer thinks about it for a second. He says, well, my life's actually already pretty great. And Take says, well, it'll be much greater. So he says, well, okay, I'll let you make my choices for me today. And he puts Take on his shoulder and he goes about his day. He goes off down the road, and next door to him there lived...
Hopping down the road music.
So, yeah, here we go. And then he got to his neighbor's house, and she was a pumpkin farmer. And he said, good morning, pumpkin farmer. And she was like, yes, good morning, apple guy. And she said, would you like some of my pumpkins? And Take suddenly got right in the farmer's ear and says, take them all. Take all those pumpkins. Take every pumpkin she has. And he cackled evilly. And the farmer said, okay. He dumped all of his apples out, took all these pumpkins, and it was a huge, huge stack of pumpkins. It was really heavy. And he left. Yes, his name is Take. Oh, dropped my basket. And he said, what now? And he says, okay, you got to take something else. Take a hike. Take a hike with all these pumpkins? Oh, okay. So he goes off on this long hike with all these pumpkins, and he's getting really tired. And when he gets home finally, he thinks, oh, the farmer said I should make soup with these pumpkins. So he peels the pumpkins, chops the pumpkins, makes them into soup. Then he realizes, oh, I don't have a blender or a food processor, so the soup is really stringy and gross, and he didn't like it, and he gave some to his dog. His dog hated it, so he's like, gallons of soup he's not going to eat. He goes, why did I listen to Take all day long? So he goes to bed and tells Take to go to bed too. Go to bed, Take. Had enough of you for the day. And so next morning he wakes up, and he sees Take sleeping, and he gets really mad, and he's like, Take, you're out of here. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. Get out of here. Sends him away. So he goes back out in the orchard, says to his dog, let's see if there's any apples. So they go out, and he finds more apples, starts picking them, and then from out of the top of the tree, what do you know? A different little guy comes out. And he says, who are you? And the little man says, I am, anybody got a guess?
What do you think his name is?
Give, exactly, yes. I'm Give, and if you listen to me, your life will be sweet. And the farmer thinks about it and says, well, gosh, my life's already pretty sweet. And Give says, it'll be a lot sweeter. So he says, okay, I'll let you make my choices for me today. He puts him on his other shoulder and goes off for his day. Down the street in the other direction today. And that way, there is a pig farmer. He sees the pig farmer, and the pig farmer says, wow, those apples sure do look great that you have got in your basket. My pigs would love those.
Give them, give them, give them.
That's what Give says. Give him all those apples. So he says, okay. He dumps all of them out, and he has nothing. And he says, what else should I do? And Give says, give him other stuff too. Give him.
Give them their tag. Give somebody your tag. I want your tag.
Give him advice. Give him all the advice. Give him everything in your head.
Give them your hair.
I already did that. So he gives him all this advice. He's talking to him about trees, apples, apple seeds, apple farming. And then he looks around, and the pig farmer's disappeared. He walked away. He got bored. He was like, oh, well, I got no apples. I'm all out of advice. And he walks home with nothing. So he's mad again. He goes to bed hungry, and he's like, oh, I did it again. I let somebody else make all my choices for me. Well, tomorrow was going to be different. I'm going to make my own choices. So next morning he gets up, sends Give away, and goes out to the orchard, and he finds one more tree that has apples on it. And they go over there, they pick all those apples, and he's just gotten finished with getting this nice batch of apples, last batch of apples. And then he hears this funny noise from behind the shrubs nearby, and it's like this big tussle going on. And he looks back there, and there's Give and Take, and they're fighting like cats and dogs. Give is better, Take is better, Give is better, Take is better. And seeing them doing all that and getting onto that gives the farmer an idea. He thinks, I think I'm going to teach them a lesson and let them see what happens when I make my own choices for the day. So he grabs both Give and Take, and they didn't even know what was happening. They were so into their fighting. He took them and he put them in his basket around top of the apples and went off. And then today he went to the miller's house. And when he got to the miller's house, that's when Give and Take realized, oh, we need to tell him what to do. So immediately they start telling him, give him stuff, take stuff, give, take. And farmer thinks, I'm going to ignore them. They'll see what will happen. So he says to the miller, Mr. Miller.
Take nidus. Take give nidus. Anyway, it's in your... Give.
So he says, Mr. Miller, if I give you some of my apples, can I take some of your flour? And the miller says, oh, that's a great idea, sure. So they make this exchange. And he goes home. Give and Take are speechless. They don't know what's going on. They think, well, why has the apple farmer stopped listening to us? We don't know, how is he making all these decisions on his own? And what's going to happen? And the apple farmer keeps ignoring him and just goes home with these apples and the flour he got from the miller. And he starts putting it together. He starts making stuff with the flour and making stuff with the apples. And he gets this idea, and he puts it all together. And then he puts it in the oven. And they start smelling this really good smell from the oven. And does anybody have a guess about what he made in the oven? Oh my gosh, you got it. Yes, first try. Yes, it was the very first apple pie. And none of them had ever seen this before. Give and Take were like amazed by this smell. And the farmer's thinking, this is going well. He takes the pie out and slices 4 slices, one for himself, one for his dog, one for Give and Take. And they're all silently eating. Give and Take are just blown away by what happened in this pie and how delicious it is. And after they get done eating their pie, Give and Take look at each other and they say at the very same time, Give and Take, is a two-way street. Some of each makes a pie that's delicious and sweet. There was what, two more lines. Letting someone else choose for you isn't very nice. We'll go back and live in the orchard now, or maybe after just one more slice.
Oh, that was good. Yay.
All right, that's our story. All right, we're ready to sing our song of dedication?
Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey. That was so sweet. Thank you, kids. So a reminder, Sarah's here to take any children, young and old, that would like to leave the sanctuary. You can go with Sarah, and she'll show you where the playtime is starting. Thank you. Jeffrey, that was such a fun story. Thank you for that. Bye. As our children make their way, I'm going to invite us now into our time of holding joys and sorrows from around the community. We did an experiment today, and we put our Joys and Sorrows book up front. So if you didn't see it, it's because it was up front, but please know that it will be there for you to write any joys, sorrows, or concerns that you would like to share with us. Susan, who is a member of our pastoral care team. Do I have mic? I don't feel like I have mic. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, thank you. That sounds better. Susan, who's a member of our pastoral care team, will light our candles for us. And the first note is from Kathy Cosper. She says, please remember the family of Marge Lothmiller. Marge was an associate of mine, a dear, sweet person. She fell in her kitchen on January 2nd and passed away. She will be missed by all who knew her. So, Kathy, we hold your friend and her family in our hearts. Thank you. And we'd like to take a special moment of silence right now. I want to invite Art Wickman to come forward and light a special candle. Our dear friend and member, Jenny Hobson, passed away this week. Art was one of her dear longtime companions, and I asked him if he could light this candle and allow us all to sit in silence for a moment, holding her and her daughter, Helen Hobson, and Art and her entire family in our hearts. So if we could just have a moment of silence. Jenny, we hold you in our hearts and bless you. Thank you for the contributions you've made to the world at large and very specifically to this community. Thank you for the love that you shared with family and friends and all of us over the many years you were here. We will carry your light forward into the world. And we hold you in our hearts, Art. Thank you for lighting that candle. I know there may be other joys, sorrows, or concerns that were not written in our book today. So as Susan lights more of our candles, if there's any left to lit, maybe you've lit them all, holding these candles in our hearts, I invite you to say out loud the name of someone you might be holding in your heart today, speaking their name out. Maria, Ronnie, Judy. Know that our caring intentions do make a difference as we hold people in our hearts. We pray that they feel this love now. And we want to express our love to the entire planet, and to do that, we often share in the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. So I'll invite you to do that, repeating after me now. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. And may we all be at peace. I'm going to invite us to take this time now. If you like closing your eyes to center yourself, please feel free to do that. I'm just going to have a musical meditation this morning, allowing ourselves to become centered to receive the message of the morning. If your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them now. 36 hours. That's how long I kept at it, checking Facebook for new posts that I would quickly counter as directly as they had countered my previous counter. Back and forth we went. It was a day and a half after the Supreme Court overturned the nearly 50-year precedent that had guaranteed that people who become pregnant in this country have the right to choose to end that pregnancy through abortion. I had come across a former chaplain colleague's Facebook page. He was a Franciscan priest, and most of his friends were doing the pro-life happy dance at that time. I took the bait and jumped into the fray. 36 hours later, exhausted, frustrated, and angry, I finally shut my computer and gave up. I had gotten caught in the internet cyber scream, too focused on rejecting the other's position to question what I actually believed. Because the truth is, the conversation about choice and reproductive justice is so much more complex and nuanced than any quick social media post could allow. Even most national media outlets have little bandwidth to create real conversation. Now, of course, my message today does not begin to encompass all the aspects of reproductive justice that are vital to address. But as the days passed and the debate continued across the internet and airways, I felt that there was a message that was being missed in the polarized rhetoric. One that, though I believed strongly, I too had failed to communicate myself in that defensive back and forth in those posts. So today I decided I wanted to share with you that message that I feel is part of the conversation that I hope we as a nation and those of us who identify as pro-choice will begin to have. It's a piece that I wish I had shared during that 36-hour of cyber shouting. So I'm calling it Choice and Life. So here it goes. For me, choice and life contains two truths. First, human life begins at or very near conception. And second, humans who are impregnated have the right to bodily autonomy, and their right to end a pregnancy must be protected under the law. Now, much of the abortion life rhetoric of the day would say that these two beliefs are antithetical to each other because of the core arguments each side holds. Much of the abortion life rhetoric of the day would say that you cannot believe both. Too often, debates erupt as people try to wrestle out that one question: when does life begin? One side uses shame tactics, the will of God, and claims of murdering babies as their main talking points. The other often tries to make abortion an emotionless, low-stakes medical procedure to remove a not really alive fetus. Personally, I think this is a false narrative that leads to a fake fight that is actually not only hurting the pro-choice movement, but also harming many people who are pregnant, and especially harming those who are pregnant and do choose to have an abortion. I've come to a choice and life position through my own life experience with my womb and with those who have occupied it. I felt I couldn't have this conversation without them, so I would like to introduce them to you. I have been pregnant 5 times, and 5 times I felt a unique life in my body, a life that was connected to but clearly independent of my own. Now, baby 1 felt very strong-willed coming into this world without my invitation. I knew I was pregnant before a test confirmed it, and I knew what my choice about that pregnancy would be. I was 17, and our lives felt incompatible. I had an abortion at 7 weeks. I'm going to talk more about that choice later in my reflection, but first I want to talk about this spirit that shared my body for almost 2 months. During that short time of pregnancy, I noticed I always thought of this fetus as he. Not that I knew the sex or gender of this one for sure. He just always felt like he. A year and a half after the abortion, I was in a flea market and came across a set of gnome figurines. I was attracted to one in particular. His gnome birth date was July 1983, a date that was most likely would have been my child's birth month. The gnome's name was Josh, and I liked that name. It could have been a name that I picked. Still feeling tenderness about the abortion decision and fleeting sense of who this person had been, I bought Josh the gnome. And he has stayed with me almost 40 years now. My second pregnancy was not planned either. I was not married. But ending that pregnancy never crossed my mind. It wasn't actually until recently that I realized that fact. Maybe because of how intense my abortion had been at 17, or maybe my soul had other plans, the thought of abortion was never put on the table. This baby had a very different energy from the first pregnancy. A friend had given me a stuffed, floppy-eared rabbit as soon as she heard I was pregnant. I called him Rama Rabbit, Rama for the Hindu god of virtue and love. I took Rama everywhere. Almost immediately, though, I seemed that something was wrong with that pregnancy. And right around week 7, this one ended in a spontaneous abortion, also known as a miscarriage. I cried and hugged Rama a lot, but somehow felt a sense of it was meant to be. Less than 3 months later, and after the wedding, my daughter Rhea nestled her spirit inside my body. Her spirit was earthly and strong from the very beginning, and there was no doubt in my mind that this girl was going to be born. I remember very clearly the moment around 3 months into the pregnancy when her identity seemed to download into my thoughts. I got a clear picture of a blue-eyed little girl named Rhea. And on May Day, 1993, a very earth-centered day, Rhea, the blue-eyed earth goddess, was born with a strong, clear desire to incarnate. Pregnancy number 4 came 15 months later and was immediately hanging on to its incarnation by a string. I say this because it felt like a literal truth. I remember taking walks in the woods and having this sensation like I was carrying a balloon, holding onto a string as the balloon floated way above me. I had a sense that this one was far, far away. Another spontaneous abortion occurred at 7 weeks. My daughter Kristen was my 5th and final pregnancy in this lifetime. I was so sure that she was filled with feminine energy that my husband and I never even picked masculine associated names. In utero, Kristen was shy, and I remember feeling very protective of her. I didn't think she would miscarry, but I did feel she was sensitive, and I wanted to be her protector. And sure enough, born August 18th, 1996, little Kristen was a shy child, very, very attached to mama until her teenage years. But that's a different sermon. So as you can see, I believe that life begins at conception. It is my true felt experience. And I believe strongly that the choices about these lives fall squarely on the person who is pregnant. So let's talk about choice. The abortion I chose to have was not easy. It was a medical one, and I remember actually screaming through much of it. Even the doctor who performed the abortion seemed uneasy at my amount of pain. It wasn't necessarily physical pain, but more emotional and spiritual pain. I didn't want an abortion, nor did I want a child at that moment. I was in an abusive relationship at the time. I did not know how to get myself out of the abuse, but I did know that bringing a child into that mix would not help anyone. I felt that even just being pregnant within the abuse was dangerous. I was grateful that the choice to end the pregnancy was available to me. I often wonder if I would still be alive had I brought that baby into that abuse before I figured out how to leave it. I wondered if he would have survived. My gnome, Josh, came with a story card that has helped me in processing his departure. One of its lines reads, "Josh is a scout of the Wood Spirit clan. It is his job to find the best site for the evening campfire." Something about that sentence struck me as I read it the first time. Perhaps Josh had been a spirit scout for his other siblings. His job was to find a safe spot, and clearly the one he encountered with me at the time was not safe. So Joshua holds 2 truths for me: the gratitude that I could make a choice about my life that may very well have saved it, and grief that his life was so very short. In my processing after my abortion, I felt very alone and ashamed. I had not shared my pregnancy with anyone except the father. Over the months after the abortion, as my grades slipped and I grew distant from my friends, my teachers and friends tried to understand what was going on with me, but I kept it all hidden. And I often wonder now how different my life would have been at that time if my shame had not prevented me from accepting their help. What if there would have been a place to go to grieve and to support and to find support from others who had walked this path? As the fight around abortion intensified over the years, I found myself often burying my true feelings about my abortion. Yes, I was grateful the option was there, and of course I wanted laws to continue to give other women that choice. And And there was another experience I was secretly living. Each year in July, I would count. And I know some of you know what I mean. How old would that baby be now? 40 years this year. I know what ifs are a useless game to play, but sometimes I venture there anyway. Because with death comes grief. And I am convinced that the conversation that denies the life of a fetus also suppresses the grief process. It's the little secret of the pro-choice movement that there are people that grieve the lost babies, who consider them babies lost, and who may even regret their choices. Now, I know that not all people who have an abortion feel the need to grieve. And for some, they may truly have felt like their abortion was a simple medical procedure with little or no emotional attachment. For some, the decision was never second-guessed, and I have lots of space for that truth as well. But I also want those of us in the pro-choice movement to have space for those who share my experience. How would it change the conversation of those of us in the pro-choice movement if we said, yes, you're right. You're right, pro-lifers. Life begins at conception. There is a tiny being inside my womb. And that is why it is so vital that a person who is pregnant has the choice about whether to carry that life or not. Just because a fetus is alive does not negate the fact that a person who is pregnant should have the right to bodily autonomy, just as much as a person has the right to protect their personal safety in a variety of situations. Accepting that a fetus is a live human allows us to consider parallels not tenable if we say a fetus is not alive. So let's think about this for a moment. According to Georgia's Stand Your Ground law, citizens can use deadly force to defend themselves, other people, or even property if they believe such force is necessary to prevent death or even bodily injury. They have no duty to retreat, but can stand their ground. In Georgia, you can kill someone who tries to come onto your property and take the shovel out of your shed. But if a life enters your body and its existence threatens your own, you do not have the right to end that life after 6 weeks. Perhaps it's a false equivalent many would argue with me about, but for me, I find it interesting that someone can feel so strongly about the pro-life stance, while at the same time feel justified to wave a gun at anyone who gets near their stuff. I say, if you can defend your shed, I can defend my womb. If you get to decide who comes into your house, I get to decide who comes into my body. The gun lobby wants to ensure that there are gun sellers on every corner. Well, what if we ensure that there are reproductive health centers on every corner, easily accessible and financially accessible to every woman and every person who can become pregnant? If we could lobby for reproductive access at the same level the NRA lobbies for gun access, we would have a world where the only babies being born are the ones born by choice. And the extended effects of that would be tremendous. Because of lack of access, Black women and poor women are disproportionately impacted by unintended pregnancies. And now that disparity is growing because of new laws in many states. And this is unacceptable. As a society that says it believes in human rights, we must ensure that people have sex education, family planning, low-cost contraception, and adequate medical care. We must ensure that people who are pregnant have the resources to have a healthy, safe pregnancy, if that is their decision, and access to care if they choose to end that pregnancy. And we must ensure that when a pregnancy ends suddenly, whether through abortion or miscarriage, that the pregnant person gets support to grieve the loss that they have experienced. Reproductive rights are human rights, and we must work to achieve a society that is run by the doctrine of human rights. In order to properly have a debate about the laws of abortion, I feel it is vital that we first acknowledge that conception results in life, however little and tiny. People choose abortion for a variety of reasons, and I strongly believe that the pregnant person has the right to discern that choice for themselves. They do not need to justify why they made that choice. But the truth is, in most cases, we must understand that the choice was most likely very difficult. That choice did not end the day the baby left the body. Just because someone chooses abortion does not mean that they will not feel a wave of complicated emotions afterwards. Abortion rights must come with abortion care. And it is my sincere belief that a clear acknowledgement of life will usher in a greater ability to acknowledge the need for choice. Life is sacred and tender, and choice is sacred and vital. So these are my thoughts about this very tender topic and where I've come to thanks to these 5 beings in my life. I'm going to invite us now to take a moment to reflect. So if you'd like to do that with your eyes closed or open, I ask you, what do you truly believe? Beyond the rhetoric, beyond the polarized conversations, what is true for you?
Bows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way. Now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in the way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusion I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way. Now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let it show. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds. crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads and say I've changed, and something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
Wow. Thank you, Bruce. Unitarian Universalism is a faith often referred to as one of deeds, not creeds. It is how we show up in the world that we live our faith. One way we seek to do that is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. Each Sunday, we collect financial contributions which are shared equally with our partner organization. This month, we share our basket with Access Reproductive Care. Their mission is to provide funding and logistical support to ensure Southerners receive safe and compassionate reproductive care, including abortion services. Through education and leadership development, they build power in communities of color to abolish stigma and restore dignity and justice. Their work includes offering peer-to-peer support groups for those that have had abortions. We encourage each of you to support this vital work. Please offer a donation as you are able, or take one of the cards that describes the ways to give electronically. Ways to give are also posted in the chat. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally with Emerson and our partner organization.
Thank you for this support, your support of this very vital organization. In closing, I have a few hopes to share. My hope is that we restore abortion rights to all states, and that abortion is seen as the health care that it is. My hope is that we remove the shame and stigma of choice to abort a pregnancy. My hope is that we create spaces and places where people who are pregnant and choose abortion are cared for and supported in their grieving and in the physical and emotional recovery as they may need. My hope is that we acknowledge that the debate about choice is not about when life begins. And my hope is that while we work to support and protect the health and life of the pregnant person, that we all work together to ensure that the lives of those humans that are born are safe, loved, and celebrate it. Let's make space for grief so that we have the strength for life. Together we can bring more humanity in our choices and in our life. Blessed be, friends. Thank you for allowing me to share my message this morning. As always, you may not agree with what you heard from the pulpit, and you're invited to come to our service reflections to share afterwards. Let's end with singing. If you'd like, please rise and body your spirit. We're going to turn in the teal hymnal. It is hymn 1007. It's called There's a River Flowing. As we close our service today, two things. One, we're on time. And second, I do want to create a space for anybody that would like a hug. So as we end the service and some of you make your way to fellowship time, if you're somebody that's feeling a little tender right now and you'd like to come sit with me here, please feel free to do that so we can just hold each other.
We hope you have been nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. If you would like more information about Unitarian Universalism or about Emerson, please stop by our welcome table in the front entry. I apologize, I forgot to check with who is going to be there, but there will be one of our greeters who will be there this morning ready to meet you. Please plan to join next week for a special MLK weekend of freedom singing and speaking truth as we welcome internationally acclaimed performer Reggie Harris to our Waldo stage on Saturday beginning at 7 p.m., and then to our pulpit on Sunday for a message titled, Keep Your Eyes on the Prize, Now What? Reggie is a deeply rooted singer, songwriter, storyteller, and cultural ambassador, known worldwide for his ability to inspire hope and create opportunities for building community and positive change. Please tell your friends and join us for both inspiring gatherings. And a reminder that our Epicurean Episodes fundraising is underway. Don't miss out on the chance to support our community, have fun, and eat a really delicious meal. Check out the flyers in your order of service for details. As our chalice is extinguished this morning, please join in the final words. They're posted in the chat and in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please join us for refreshments and fellowship in our fellowship room on the first floor near the back doors. Those of you online, please stay tuned in and you'll be able to go to virtual breakout rooms for fellowship time. At 11:15, we offer religious education and exploration for children, youth, and adults. See your order of service for today's offerings. Our service is now concluded, but our connection has only begun.
Please go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.
Yeah, I didn't screw words up at the very end, but yeah, thank you. Thank you. I love that song.
It just didn't feel right to applaud, but I was right there in the spirit.
I cannot wait to slap Deborah. I'm like, I had no idea I was going to have to sing that song after that message. I was like,
It was the best. It was beautiful.
I was like, I hope I can get through this.
You did a really good job. It sounded perfect. It was
Okay.
It was really, really nice. It was very moving. Yes. It felt like, I mean, it was like the perfect song, and like it was really,
Well,
it was intense.
well, thank you. It felt good. No. Well, I knew I was going to be ending that song very quietly, and I was kind of hoping no one would.
I was thinking it, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah, no.
I can give you 2 days later and you get the
Listen, I'm trapped in here like a cat in a cage. I realized there was no place for me to go. I had to sit here the whole service. I was like, I'm blocked. I was like, Alice for the block.